Welcome back to the channel. If you're new, my name is James Salvatore, and today I'm going to be comparing the 2020 Porsche Cayenne to the Macan. And in today's video, I'm going to review the differences between the two for you to help you better make your purchase decision, and then I'm going to take them on the road and go for a drive and tell you my thoughts on them both. But before we get into things, be sure to smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm because it really helps to promote the videos, and be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell notification to be alerted when I post future videos. On the channel, I do everything from new cars, new car comparisons, as you can see, classics, exotics. I like to have fun, so be sure to stick around if that's your thing. And with that, let's get into the video. When it comes to pricing, these two cars aren't as different as you might think. Yes, the Macan has a lower starting point. However, once you start adding options to it, and trust me, you're definitely going to be adding options to it, it creeps right into Cayenne territory real fast. So if price isn't what's really swaying your purchase decision here, well, what do you base it off of? I'll tell you a few things that might help out. First is, you should definitely consider where these two cars are in their life cycle. The Cayenne was just redesigned for the 2019 model year, so therefore this car is going to look new for the next 3 to 4 years. Whereas with the Macan, it was just facelifted in 2019, meaning it's at the end of its life cycle. So it'll be redesigned much sooner than this one will. So, you know, your car will look older within 2 to 3 years versus this will stay looking new for the next 4 to 5, which is nice. Another area you're going to see a major difference in these cars has to do with technology. In the Macan, you could definitely tell that this is a last generation Porsche design because if you look at it, you could see that you still have the physical gauge cluster. And if you look at this center console here, you could definitely tell this is a last generation design because you still have all the physical buttons. However, for the facelift, they did update the infotainment system. However, it's not the newest system, it's just a newer system. But it's still nice, it still has Apple CarPlay, so you know, it still has all that functionality that you really need. But seeing that the Cayenne was redesigned last year, you'll see that you have the updated driver's information center with the two digital screens off to the left and the right side here with the traditional tack, as well as the updated center console, which is nice and sleek and modern looking. I really like it. I mean, if we just turn this thing on, you can see all your climate control is nicely laid out now. And I like that they kept the physical switches just for, you know, things that you need to click fast, like temperature, speed, temperature, and fan speed. And if you're somebody who really cares about the infotainment system, this one is leagues better than what's in the Macan, in my opinion. Now, you have the ability to customize both screens here, so you could have it show your navigation information, your trip information, and whatnot. You can have it show a few different things. You could set speed limits and whatnot. You can still do that in the Macan, but I like that you could display your map over here in this nice big full screen, where as in the Macan you have, you know, you still have the ability to, but it's just in a small circle. But I also like that they still did keep true to, you know, Porsche heritage and have that traditional tachometer right in the center with your speed clearly displayed there. Nice touch, really like what they did there. When it comes to the infotainment in this car, it is a little bit faster than what you'll see in the Macan. It just feels a little bit more snappy, a little bit more responsive as, you know, you move the map around and whatnot. And you could actually set up your home screen the way you want to see it, kind of like on your phone. You have different apps and whatnot you can put here. Just a nice touch, you know, nice to have these things. Next, let's focus on rear legroom and rear cargo storage between these two cars, because chances are you're looking at these in the first place because you want to fit people in them. So let's see how the Macan does. All right, getting back here, you know, there's plenty of room. You know, I set the driver's seat up to my optimal driving position. I'm 6'1", and you can see down here I still have some space before my knees hit the seat in front of me. However, not so much headroom. I would say I have maybe a 1/4 inch before my head hits the ceiling. So if you're trying to carry around passengers above 6'1", might be slightly questionable. Let's move on to the Cayenne though and see how that does. Right away, right off the bat, I could tell you if you primarily carry a lot of people around, especially full-size adults, the Cayenne is definitely the much more sensible option, as you expected, obviously, because it's a bigger car. And when it comes to headroom, This car has plenty. I mean, I'm 6'1" and I have plenty of clearance before my head hits the ceiling. Now let's see how the Cayenne does when it comes to rear storage. Moving around to the rear of the Cayenne, you can get into the trunk a number of ways. You could use the key fob with the button, or you could just use the button beneath the logo, or you could use the comfort access feature where you wave your foot underneath the trunk. Now, with the seats up, you have about 27 cubic feet of cargo storage, and with the seats put down, you have about 63, which is really good for a car of this size. It's almost, I want to say, double of what the Macan offers. And if you need to put down the seats, it's really simple. All you do is just pull the lever right down here, and they fold right down and lock into place. Put them back up, just pull the latch again, and that's that. Moving around to the rear, you have a few different ways you can open the trunk. You have a button on the key fob. You have a comfort access feature where if you wave your foot underneath the trunk, it'll open. And you have a button very cleverly placed. Right on the bottom of the wiper blade here, you have a button where if you push it, opens the trunk, nice power lift gate. And with the seats up, you get 17.6 cubic feet of cargo storage. And you also get a nice power privacy shade. If you need it to be removed though, because you're trying to fit bigger things in the trunk, you can unclip it from the two strings to the side here and it just lifts right up and out. And with the seats down, you get 52.9 cubic feet of cargo storage, which is pretty impressive with a car this size. Okay, getting into the Macan, one of the things I like right away is Porsche does a really great job of this in general. Visibility, you could see everything out of this car. But real quick, we're getting on the highway, so let's get a little acceleration pulling. Okay. Nice snappy little motor. Really gets up and goes. Nice throttle response, and with that PDK double clutch transmission, it really is responsive right off the line. This suspension system really is impressing me right off the bat because as I come up to stops and whatnot, I could feel that the car is actually self-leveling itself, accounting for the nosedive that you would otherwise get in another crossover or SUV. You don't have that in here. It's just a very nice, flat, even controlled ride, which is what you want in a performance car. When you get into the turns with this car, it really handles the road nicely. For a crossover this side, the air suspension does a really good job at correcting the body roll that otherwise you would see in other crossovers in this size. Just take a listen to that. The immediacy, turn in, very nimble car, very flat. Very fun, very fun. I really like this thing. Getting into the Cayenne and going for a drive, one of the first things that I really noticed right away is how good the visibility is in this car. I mean, you could really see everything. I love the driving position. You know, you look over this hood, but it's really nice and easy to place the car. When it comes to ride comfort, the car is very comfortable. I mean, it's soaking up bumps. However, you still feel a little bit of it so that it gives you a concept of what's going on with the car underneath. This car gives you a nice level of feedback. You know, it's not like the damping in this car is harsh at all. It's very comfortable. However, when you give it, you know, little steering inputs or little throttle inputs, it responds right away and changes direction nicely. It doesn't feel as big as it is. It feels like a small car, but you definitely do notice, you know, that you're higher up. And, you know, that's good to say for an SUV. For something that doesn't have a lot of horsepower, I mean, this thing is fun to drive because of how well it handles. You know, this is a car that, you know, when you drop your kids off, you know, at school or something afterwards, you could be on a back road and, you know, have some fun, hit some curves. To sum up my thoughts on these two cars for you, I look at the Cayenne as being a great daily commuter. It's fun when you want it to be, but it also checks all the boxes. You have all the space you need in it. It has the newest technology available. And, you know, it's newer in its refresh cycle. So if you're somebody who actually buys these cars and you don't lease them and you want to have a car that looks newer for longer, this is probably the better option for you. But if you're looking for, you know, something that, you know, you're coming from a car and you want something that is SUV-like, but you don't want something full size, this is a great option because, you know, it's fun, it's sporty in turns and whatnot, and it pretty much has everything you need. It's just, you know, not as big, but that's not a bad thing. But to me, the only drawback is that you have the older technology in this car, whereas if you get this car, you have the newer technology. So depending on where, you know, your interests lie and what's important to you, hopefully this video has helped you make your decision. Well, that's all for today's video. I hope it helped make your purchase decision. And if you haven't done so yet, be sure to help me out by smashing that like button for the YouTube algorithm, and be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell notification. But before we go, I'd like to say a special thanks to my friends at Porsche of Fairfield, Connecticut for making this comparison possible. They have a lot of rare and unique models in their inventory, so I'm going to include a link in my description below so you could check them out if you're interested in anything. And with that said, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next video.